Jai Prabhupada. Jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Shri Guru Shri Guru Shri Prabhupada.
Okay. We're at which text are we at?
24.
24?
24.
Okay. I'm going to put up 24. 2, 24.
Or no, well, Kelty had class on 24, but I think he read
24, 23 and 24, right? He did, I think
he read 2 verses yesterday.
He did 23 and 24.
The fire demigod.
Fire demigod.
Yeah. No, not Agni. Well, maybe it's another name for Agni. I don't know, but it had another name.
Two.
Yeah. Coming up,
Yeah,
buddy.
I think we're up to 25.
Yeah, we did 24 yesterday.
Yeah, we're after 25. We're 26.
We did 26. We're 25.
No, because Kagi did 25 and 26, I think.
No, he didn't do 26.
Oh, he did 24, 25.
He only did 24 and 25.
Yeah,
I didn't have a
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we do 26.
Okay, we're up to 26 today. So, reading on Canto 2, Chapter 2, text number 26.
Hare Krishna.
26, so, okay. Atho
Anantasya
Mukhanalena
Dandahimanam Sa Niriksha Vishwam Niryati Siddheshwara Yushta Dhishnam Yad Dvai Paradhyam Parameshtham
Atonantasya Mukhanalena Dandayamanam Saniriksha Vishwam
Dandayamanam Saniriksha
Niryati Siddheshwara Yushtadishyam
Niryati Siddheshwara Yushkadishnam
Yadvai Paradhyam Tadu Paramishthyam
Yadvai Paradhyam Tanu Paramishthyam
Atonantasya Mukhanalena Dandahimanam Saniriksha Vishwam Niryati Siddheshwara Yushtadhishnam Yadvai Paradhyam Tadu Paramishthyam Atonantasya Mukhanalena Dandahimanam Saniriksha Vishwam Niryati Siddheshwara Yushtadhishnam Yadvai Paradhyam Tadu Paramishthyam
Atonantasya Mukhanalena Dandahyamanam Saniriksha Vishwam Niryati Siddheshwara Yushtadhishnam Yadvai Paradhyam Tadu Parameshtyam Atho Anantasya Mukhanalena Dandahyamanam Saniriksha Vishwam Niryati Siddheshwara Yushtadhishnam Yadvai Paradhyam Tadu Parameshtyam
Atonantasya
Mukhanalena
Dandayamanam Saniriksha Vishwam
Dandahyamanam Saniriksha Vishwam
Niryati Siddheshwara
Yushtadhishnam
Yadvai Paradhyam Taru Parameshyam.
Yadvai Paradhyam Taru Parameshyam Next.
You want to try?
Ato anantasya mukhalena.
Ato anantasya mukhanalena.
Nandan hayamanam sa nikshiksha vishvam.
Nandayamanam saniriksha vishwam.
Yati siddheshvara yusta dishnam.
Yati siddheshwara
Yadvai paradyam tadu paramestayam. Ato.
Thereupon.
Anantasya. Avananta.
The resting incarnation of Godhead.
The resting incarnation of Godhead.
Mukha alena.
Mukha
analena. By the fire emanating from his mouth.
By the fire emanating from his mouth.
Dandahyamanam.
Burning to ashes. Saha. He. Niriksha.
By seeing this.
Vishwam. The universe. Niryati. Goes up. Siddheshwara. Yushtadhishnam.
Airplanes used by the great purified souls.
Airplanes used by the great purified souls. Yet.
The place.
The place.
Dvaiparadhyam. Okay.
15 trillion.
Is that 311 trillion?
No, that's for trillion.
I think it's trillion.
Oh, right. It's a different number on my book.
Oh, really?
I got 300
But there ain't no
million.
quadrillion. What are you talking about, man?
Which one is the new version?
Call it
Okay,
15
this
half
is,
trill.
I mean, that's a big,
That's
that's a
trillion.
big difference.
That's
in
trillion.
one.
That's
I'm gonna say this one might be updated,
it's
but this
15
one might be
trillion.
updated.
It's
Well,
trillion.
they are solar years, so it might be.
Solar
based on-
years is also very,
It's-
okay,
it's
so
definitely
in here
15
it's
trillion.
years and that's solar years.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, hang on, it's both. It's both
Oh.
the same. Okay, it's slightly different. I don't know who's done the calculation
15 trillion,
differently.
480 billion.
Okay, we'll just leave that. Some trillion years. So, tat,
That.
u, the exalted.
The exalted.
Paramishtham.
Parameshcham.
Satyaloka.
Satyaloka.
Where Brahma resides.
Where Brahma resides.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Go down a little bit. Yes, the number of years has been calculated differently. So at the time of final devastation of the complete universe, the end of the duration of Brahma's life, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta, from the bottom of the universe. The yogis see all the planets of the universe burning to ashes, and thus he leaves for Satyaloka by airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life is Satyaloka is calculated to be 300, so many number of trillions of years. Slightly different. We can look into that more later. So purport. It is indicated herein that the residents of Maharaloka, where the purified living entities or demigods possess a duration of life calculated to be 4.3 billion years.
Yeah.
Solar years have airships by which they reach Satyaloka, the topmost planet of this universe. In other words, the Srimad Bhagavatam gives us many clues about how other planets far away from us, which modern planes and spacecraft cannot reach, even by imaginary speeds. The statements of Srimad Bhagavatam are accepted by the great acharyas like Srila Swami Ramanuja Acharya and Vallabhacharya. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically accepted Srimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Vedic authority, and as such, no sane man can ignore the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam when it is spoken by the self-realized soul, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, who follows in the footsteps of his great father, Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedic literatures. In the creation of the Lord, there are many wonderful things we can see with our own eyes every day and night, but we are unable to reach them equipped by modern materialistic science. We should not therefore depend on the fragmentary authority of materialistic science for knowing things beyond the range of scientific purview. For a common man, both modern science and Vedic wisdom are simply to be accepted, because none of the statements either of modern science or Vedic literatures can be verified by him. The alternative for a common man is to believe either of them or both of them. The Vedic way of understanding, however, is more authentic because it has been accepted by acharyas, who are not only faithful and learned men, but are also liberated souls without any of the flaws of conditioned souls. The modern scientists, however, are conditioned souls, liable to so many errors and mistakes. Therefore, the safe side is to accept the authoritative version of Vedic literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, which is accepted unanimously by the great acharyas. Chakshuranakamena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Santamena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swakatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapatagamam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Nitam Tulsajivam Sadhaitam Sadhaitam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Jakarnitam Shri He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinam Jagatapati Gopi Shri Gopi Gopanta Radha Kantina Musuti Tapta Kanchana Devam Radhe Vrindavan Vishivani Sute Devi Pranamami Te Vancha Prabhupada Vishya Tipasam Vidya Vishya Pratanam Kalam Vishnu Vidya
Oh.
So, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Vishnu Bhakti Vikasa Sundari Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Vishnu Namaste Saraswate Devi Gaurvani Bhushaya Namo Se Shri Nivadi Paschati Viztani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Veda Gadadhara Shivasari Gaurvani
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jnananandamayan Devam Nirmashpatikakratam Adaram Sarva Vidyanam Hayagrivam Upasmahi. So, in this section of the Bhagavatam, we're discussing the space travel, you could say, in one sense, of a yogi, of a person who is ascending to the heavenly or ascending to the spiritual world, per se, here. And we're talking about particularly here, the annihilation of the universe. After so many number of years, there's so many yuga cycles. There's creation and then there's end of creation, where everything is destructed. Now you have, within between you have sub-creations and sub-destructions also. So this here is at the end of Brahma's life. There's complete destruction. All the universes are completely destroyed and then, unmanifested again, back into Vishnu, back into the pores of Vishnu, that he breathes all these universes back again. So that is the situation that is being described here. So that at the time of the final devastation of complete universe, the end of the duration of Brahma's life, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta. So all these planets in this universe are being upheld by Ananta Sesha. Sometimes you will see in the Ishopanishad with the hoods of the snake. This is Ananta. This is an expansion of Lord Balaram. And he holds up the whole universe. And it's described how this annihilation of the whole universe happens is by the fire of Ananta. And it sets fire, all the universes, everything, the whole universe is burning in flames. It says burns. The yogis see all the planets of the universe burning to ashes. So they're at Satyaloka, they're on the topmost planet. And so they're seeing all these planets below them become completely destroyed to ashes. What happens at that point? Well, at that point, all the living entities, they obviously no longer have a gross body to take on anymore. So in this subtle form of body, mind, and intelligence, the soul, that subtle body, again, is unmanifested into the, you could say, into Mahavishnu again. And then so we see here that that the soul, he has to undergo such a situation of being unmanifested for so many number of years, so many crazy number of years again. And so Prabhupada says here, I'm going to start going through the purport now. It is indicated herein that the resident of Mahaloka, where the purified living entities or demigods possess a duration of life calculated to be so many number of trillion years, solar years, have airships by which they can reach Satyaloka, the topmost planet of the universe. In other words, Srimad Bhagavatam gives many clues about other planets far, far away from us, which modern planes and spacecrafts cannot reach even by imaginary speeds. So, So living entities who have that ability, they have that karma, they're able to travel all over the universe. And although we can barely create a spaceship that can land back on Earth when it takes off nowadays, we claim to know everything in this universe. Like, you know, what do they send out this satellite and they send it out in just one direction until it just keeps on going. And it transmits certain signals that come back after so many number of years. And so you have to calculate how long it will take a signal to come all the way from the edge of this solar system to us. And then that's considered like light years. It's traveled for so many number of years. So finally, when you get the signal of what's going on, most likely that planet or whatever solar system that is transmitting from, they predict, is that it's already probably destroyed, because the number of years that it took to actually give that signal to even come to you. So for a material scientist or a materialist, the level of information available to them is so limited, and it's at every moment it is more or less ignorance, because, like, you know, they might know, okay, what happened to this solar system so many years, like they may just get the information now, but it already happened so many years ago, so many millions of years ago, but they're only getting the knowledge now. So Prabhupada is making a statement here that these, in other words, the Srimad Bhagavatam gives many clues about other planets far from us, which modern planes and spacecrafts cannot reach, even by imaginary speeds. So the claim of the material scientists is that one can't travel faster than the speed of light, but that's being broken now. That it is, you can do that with the new understanding of what's called quantum mechanics. That one can travel faster than the speed of light. Einstein was wrong. His theory of this E equals mc squared, which limits oneself to the speed of light, is completely wrong. And we can understand that they will continue to be wrong, more and more wrong, as they continue trying to come up with new philosophies and new theories. They'll continue to be wrong. There is no right here for the scientists, because they're on the temporary platform. But the Srimad Bhagavatam, it has given us a much deeper understanding of even science and the understanding of the universe than what your most advanced scientist or your most advanced scientific system in this world can even give you. Just like the idea of relativity is so prominent in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's so easily seen and easily understood. But that wasn't really understood until maybe like 50 years ago. Einstein's theory of relativity came about. Einstein was maybe 70, 80 years ago?
Oh no.
Maybe 100 years ago.
Between like 1910 and 1930 that his most important stuff was published.
Okay, so about 100 years ago. That's the theory of relativity and all this came about. But before that, they had no clue. But then we see the Vedic literatures, thousands and thousands of years old, that have been, this is just second nature to, this is not even the most important aspects of knowledge in Vedic culture. This is just something to be known. It's not very important. It's not important on the ultimate run of self-realization. This is just considered knowledge of the universe. You know, it's more or less material knowledge. Although we're understanding this in the Bhagavatam in a transcendental way, but it doesn't particularly have to do with self-realization. It's not given the greatest amount of significance like it is given in modern science, right? Space travel, finding new planets, finding new habitat for the human beings to travel to. This is like a whole research that spends billions and billions and trillions of dollars trying to find all these things. Like you can imagine Elon Musk's journey to Mars. How expensive that must be. But what's the use of it? Neither will he live to see Mars, neither will anybody else that is supporting him right now. And even if he does succeed, the people that go live on Mars is more or less hellish. You have to live inside some dome apparently. where you try to grow your own trees and it will take 5,000 years to try to establish some atmosphere on this planet. And they can theorize as much as they like, but the situation of actually just theory and actually practice when you get on that planet is completely different. But they want to colonize for what reason? For what reason? To go through birth, death, old age, disease again? What is the use of this endeavor of modern planes and spacecrafts? If Elon Musk really wants the ability to travel to other planets and inhabit other planets, then he should take up the system of a yogi, the system of the Vedas, which teaches one to transcend this body and attain a body by which one can live on another planet, by which one doesn't have to live inside a stupid dome all his life. And actually, and if he extends himself to these higher planets, he can actually enjoy it. He can actually have some level of sense gratification. Whereas if you were to travel to these planets like Mars and all these things, the level of suffering you have to go through. The thing is, Prabhupada many times makes the point throughout these sections that the body of a human being is meant for this planet. It's not meant for the planet like Mars. The whole idea of shifting moving this body that is made of earth, water, air, and fire, which is like a product of this nature. Literally, that's all this body is. And to shift it to another planet, which is a completely different nature. Even if you actually, if you change your living situation, you grew up in a certain place, and then you go to another completely different place, most likely you might get disease. Because your body is used to the environment and it's built and conditioned around the environment that you grow up in. And so when your body grows and is conditioned by the environment, so you'll see in tradition, if you're born in a particular place, your body is naturally adapted to that place, and if you have any sickness in your body, you can use the herbs and the different, living entities, or you could say different roots and plants to cure yourself. But if you go to a completely different, like you can say, at least we're on Earth, even if you move from like Australia to America, it's a shift of everything. You're going from the bottom of you can say in one sense, the bottom of the planet to like a complete other side of the world, on the other side of the equator. You're gonna have a whole shift of nature and how the air is, how everything works, the nature of the water that you're drinking, and so the body changes according to that. The body suffers, because it's conditioned in a way. When you try to recondition the body, it suffers in so many ways. It may become diseased, it may become sick. So these people, they can't understand that this body is not fit to live on any other planet other than Earth. And when you try to force it against its own nature, then there will be suffering to such a great extent that they can't even think about or hypothetically imagine. Right? Like these rascals nowadays this feminism rascaldom and this idea of this changing bodies to a woman's body or a man's body, right? There's the idea that you can, okay, I don't like this body, so I'll just change it to a woman's body. So foolish that I can do it. Ishvaraham aham bhogi siddhaham balavan shiki. That I am the supreme and I can make anything happen. Yes, I can change this body into a woman's body or a man's body. And you can theorize, yes, you could do it. Yes, you can cut your genitals off and replace it with another genitals. But you're a rascal because you don't understand that the function of you've been put into this male or the female body. And when you try to change the constitution of that body, you'll suffer more psychologically, physically, mentally, everything. You'll suffer like anything. You think you're suffering now thinking, it may be true to some that they may be born in a male's body, but they may be more of a female, and that can be understood through the Vedas from past life and things like that. But to try to change one's situation, it only causes one more misery, because one is meant to suffer that. One is meant to suffer that particular situation that he's been put in. he's attained a male body for a particular reason, with maybe a female sort of mentality. But once you just tolerate it, and you can see these people who try to change their sex. It's so nasty. It's just like now, and modern society hides the fact those who suffer a lot, which is probably like 99%, and they paint a rosy road of changing and feeling free. You'll never feel free. You're engaged in this material world. So we can understand from this minute kind of example, which is really nasty and disgusting and perverted, that these people are freaking crazy. Trying to change their bodies, they suffer so much. What to speak about changing a whole planet? You can't imagine the level of things that you'll go through. So, but the Srimad Bhagavatam has knowledge of all these planets and how to live on those planets if one desires that. If one does desire that, then the Vedic knowledge presents one that opportunity. And so, those who are Ashadadhana Purusha, it's 9th chapter, text number 2, that though they don't have, no, not number 3, that they don't have faith in scripture. Ashadadhana Purusha, you want to bring up number 2, Bhagavad Gita 9:3. So they don't have faith in the scripture at all. So they continue in this material existing, trying to enjoy more and more. But this verse that I'm picturing, chapter 9, text number 3. Ashadadhana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapi Mam Nivartade Mrityu Sansara Vartmani. So those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. So they have no faith in devotional service. Go up a little bit. So this word that's used here, dharmasya, towards the process of religion, there is no faith at all. There's just a level of feeling, oh, this is just some Hindu thing. This is just some religious thing. It's just some belief. But it's not a belief of birth. There's no belief in birth, death, old age, and disease. It's a fact. And the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita are talking about how to conquer this mrityu, this samsara, this cycle of birth and death. But they don't want to understand that because they have no faith. They are demoniac consciousness. So those who have no faith in Shastra, their knowledge is stolen by illusion. So here we see that the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam are accepted by great acharyas like Srila Swami Ramanujacharya and Vallabhacharya. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically accepted Srimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Vedic authority, and as such, no sane man can ignore the statements of Bhagavatam, where is spoken by the self-realized soul, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, who follows in the footsteps of his great father, Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of all Vedic literatures. Because why no sane man can ignore the statements of Bhagavatam? Because one cannot defeat the philosophy that is propounded in the Bhagavatam. Any philosophy that you propound within this world is fallible. It's completely fallible. Your Buddhism philosophy, your Mayavad philosophy, your atheistic philosophy, your Sankhya philosophy, your Chinese philosophy, all this nonsense. It's completely defeated by the words of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Srimad Bhagavatam challenges all these philosophers and all these followers of different traditions and all these things into understanding, to present the complete understanding of the science of the soul. It is not flawed in any way. Therefore we challenge all the philosophers. Say, okay, come, bring your philosophy forward. We shall defeat it with no problems. Because it is complete. Why is it complete? Because it is authority. Vedic authority. And what is that authority? That authority is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the authority. He is the authority of the Vedas. He is by which the Vedas to be known. And why is he the authority? Why should we accept Krishna? Like this rascal Sadhguru says. Why should I trust Krishna? Why should I haven't even read the Bhagavad Gita.
I haven't read any Vedas, nothing. Not
Yeah,
one
I
Veda.
haven't read any
He
of the
admits
Vedas,
it.
I haven't read anything.
Nothing.
But who's Krishna? Why should we trust him? Why should we trust you, you rascal? Who are you that we should trust? You haven't read anything, you're a self-made guru. You don't know anything. The guy is such a rascal. He's portrayed as some great saint. Sadguru means one who is pure. But this guy is a big rascal who tries to imitate Lord Shiva. And actually, if you read through the third canto, it particularly, this Atri Muni cursed the followers of Lord Shiva and said, you guys, you will become atheistic because you are against the philosophy of the Vedas. You can bring it up. Go to Canto 4, chapter 2, and just go to the index and scroll down towards the end of it. Yep, so just remain there and keep going down, go. So, go up, keep going. Yeah, there you go.
31.
So, let's start at 30. So what's happening here is that Lord Shiva is being cursed by Daksha, which is not appropriate at all. And then he's being criticized, and because he's a great Vaishnava, Daksha is committing great offense. And then the disciple of Shiva, who I forget his name, Nandeshwara, he starts cursing all the Brahmanas. How dare you not stand up for Lord Shiva? How you guys are all, you'll fall down from the Vedas. I curse you to become such and such. He goes on, I can't remember exactly the words. But Brigamuni, he's being follower of the Vedas, he starts to curse the followers of Lord Shiva. He says, since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmanas who are followers of the Vedic principles, it is understood that you have already taken shelter of the doctrine of atheism.
Wow.
Okay, go to the next. So then he says, the Vedas give eternal regulative principles for auspicious advancement in human civilization, which have been rigidly followed in the past. The strong evidence of this principle is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is called Janardhan, the well-wisher of all living entities. Yeah, I guess you could just do it from index. So then, by blaspheming the principle of the Vedas, which are pure and supreme path of the saintly persons, certainly you, followers of the Bhutapati, Lord Shiva, will descend to the standard of atheism without a doubt.
Wow.
So go to the next one. There's a few more that are really easy. So and then he says, we're going with
That's the next one.
that's the next one.
Yeah.
So go back to the index. There's a few things that are in there that are really interesting. That you'll just smoke and eat and become degraded. That you'll try to imitate Lord Shiva and his followers will. It's described perfectly how they will act in Kali Yuga, and they do. There you go, up there. You don't have to go into it. Just stay on there. Go up.
29.
Keep going up. Okay. So down. Okay, 28.
Yes.
One who takes a vow to satisfy Lord
I see.
Shiva.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I see,
yeah.
I see.
Let me go down. 28. So it says here, 28. One who takes a vow to satisfy Lord Shiva or who follows such principles will certainly become an atheist and be diverted from the transcendental scripture injunctions. Go down. Those who vow to worship Lord Shiva are so foolish that they imitate him by keeping long hair on their heads. When initiated into worship of Lord Shiva, they prefer to live on wine, flesh, and other such things. So we can see these rascals try to imitate like this. But they simply blaspheme Vedic literatures like Bhagavad Gita or any other Vedic literatures. They are simply understood to be atheists. Therefore, this rascal, who's so-called guru, propounds the idea that safe soil is the greatest thing you can do for humanity. So we see here that Vyasadeva is the compiler of Vedic literatures. Therefore, Atri Muni is cursing Nandeshwara because although yes, Lord Shiva got offended and nobody said anything in this assembly, but it is not to be blamed to the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas should not be blasphemed by this. One should never blaspheme a Brahmana. So we can see here that simply by him blaspheming a Brahmana and him telling him that they're not following Vedic culture, he himself is contradictory to his philosophy, and he's committing great mistake here. So we can see here that that the followers of the Vedas, or the compiler of the Vedas, Vyasadeva, who is a empowered incarnation of Krishna, he's propounded the philosophy with it being complete. It has everything that one needs inside of this. There is no loophole, there is no faults within this philosophy. And one can challenge it as much as they like. We welcome it. Not that we say that yes, our philosophy is complete, and then we shy away from our questions. But no, we are welcome for you to come and challenge anything and everything that you want to. Come and challenge the Vedas. Come and challenge the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. And so, why are we so strong in this? Because it's coming from Apaurushaya, that Lord who is transcendental to all these defects. And because the sages, like we see here, like Ramanuja Acharya, Vallabha Acharya, all these great personalities are very empowered personalities, but they're simply taking the knowledge without any adulteration. They're scholars, not just scholars, but practitioners who are faithful to the authority of Srila Vyasadeva. And when that happens, that means the science of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, they stay pure because it is being passed down. Therefore, Guru Parampara is so important. It is very, very important to understand Guru Parampara. Because like this rascal Sadguru, a self-proclaimed Guru, he has no authority at all. He's just made himself a Guru. Yes, I know a few logical things, and he may be, because he's a yogi of some sorts, he's on the platform of goodness, mode of goodness. He's very healthy with his body, he's regulated. So that's taken to be spiritual, and this person is great, some great amazing person who is doing some great things of this world. But if one understands the science of Krishna consciousness, one understands the Srimad Bhagavatam, the authority of Srila Vyasadeva, one can see that he's a cheat within a few words that he speaks, or just by looking at him. Because you'll see the Shastra, it teaches one to be genuine. Like with Srila Prabhupada, you don't see any nonsense in it. You don't see nonsense, he's speaking as it is. There's no feeling of like, make you feel comfortable in the atmosphere and saying something, few words in a very amazing way. No, Srila Prabhupada is, there's birth, there's death, there's disease, what are you going to do about it? He's preaching heavily to the hippies. There's no euphoric idea, oh, spirituality is so amazing. No, he's giving it straight. So you'll see this quality in the acharyas, you'll see these qualities in the followers of Srila Vyasadeva. There's no nonsense, there's no feeling of, there's life, this is serious business, this is not a joke. Birth, death, Odin's disease is not a joke. That the fact that the jiva is depriving his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not some idea to try to make nice, but to push forward the point that you are suffering and that you should, in this material world, because you haven't attained a relationship with Krishna. And so this science that is being presented is complete in itself due to that following authority, like Prabhupada is saying here, that in his creation law there are many wonderful things we can see with our own eyes every day and night, but we are unable to reach them equipped by modern material science. We do not therefore depend on the fragmented authority of material science for knowing things beyond the range of scientific purview. We do not depend on materialists to know the science of spiritual knowledge. It's completely contradictory, like Darshan was telling me yesterday, that there's some idea that we can transcend this world by technology at some point. It's foolishness. It's complete foolishness to think that we can transcend the world. The idea of transcending is to go beyond the material. But now there's the idea that with the material we'll go beyond the material. That the material spaceships and all these things will take us beyond this material universe. But one should not depend on such fragmental authority. It's very small, the authority. The authority is actually flickering just like the nature of this world, temporary by nature. So for a common man, both modern science and Vedic wisdom are simply to be accepted because none of the statements, either of modern science or of Vedic literature, can be verified by him. The alternative for a common man is to believe either of them or both of them, the Vedic way of understanding, however, is more authentic because it has been accepted by the Acharyas, who are not only faithful and learned men, but are also liberated souls without any flaws of the conditioned soul. So the flaws of the conditioned soul, what is the flaws of the conditioned soul?
On the sheet.
Uh-huh.
Make mistakes.
Be illusions.
Imperfect senses.
And imperfect senses. So 4 things. These 4 things will never allow us to have absolute knowledge. We're talking absolute knowledge here. And because of our nature that we're relative and then we're defected by all these 4 defects will never bring us to the platform of complete knowledge. But when we're faithful, learned, and we follow the path of the Mahajans, what is it? Mahajan Gata Sapanta. I might have said that wrong. But the Chaitanya Charitamrita, well, the Bhagavatam says that one should follow in the footsteps of the great Mahajans. And so we can become faithful and learned in this science. And so the modern scientists have conditioned souls liable to so many errors and mistakes. Therefore, the safe side is to accept the authority, authentic version of Vedic literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, which is accepted unanimously, how do you say that?
Unanimously.
By the great acharyas. So, even if one has some doubt with Vedic literature, still he should accept Vedic literatures. Obviously with intelligence. But why? Why? Because it is the safe side. Like the idea is there. I forget which philosopher said this. That if the materialists are in great strife, in a great problem here, because for those who are following God consciousness, if there is no God, okay, anyways, it doesn't make a difference, right? Because the idea of atheism is everything is once you die, everything is over. So anyways, everything is over. But if there is God, then there is some level of suffering that you have to take on. You may have to go to the hellish planets to suffer for a little bit and come back up. You may have to travel through so many more lifetimes. There's just so much more at stake for an atheist than a person who is God conscious. And if you want to look at it in that way, also for a person, especially in Krishna consciousness, we're always on the safe side. You live better than a materialist, you think better than a materialist, you eat better than a materialist, your quality of life is better than a materialist. So in Vedic culture, the quality of one's life, the quality of one's living is so much greater than even a materialist. So even in a material way, you could say, with a material understanding, it's a safer side to be on. It's a much safer side to be on. But because we are accepting the authority of Vedic literature, we are accepting absolute truth here. We're not accepting relative truth. One day your psychologist tells you this, and then you come back 2 weeks later and says, oh, actually the studies changed and I have to tell you to do something else now. And then you try to change your lifestyle here and there, maybe this, maybe that, maybe that. But no, the Vedic literature is absolutely what is the root cause of your problem. There's no maybe this, maybe that. I think. This means they don't know. And they'll never know. They may be able to come up with some ideas. Even the idea of what is the mind is like so confusing for them. How the mind works is so confusing for them. But Bhagavad Gita sums it up within a few verses. So the Vedic literature allows one to solve all the problems of life. And that ultimate problem is death. And that is something that nobody is teaching. That is something that all these so-called learned men avoid. But why is Elon Musk solving the problem of electricity? Why is Elon Musk, trying to solve the economical problem? Climate problem by creating solar and all this? Why? Because it's simply he's not able to acknowledge it, but it's simply the fact that he can't conquer death. So he has to try to come up with a bigger problem at hand. You don't want to look at this problem of death because it's such a big problem that it bewilders one. Because ultimate problem is death, right? You can try to save this world, save the world, save the children, save the eyes of the children, save the feet of the children, give them education, whatever. But at the end of it, you're going to die. What are you going to do about that? Everyone's going to die. What are you going to do about that? And they maybe try to solve that problem too, right? There's a whole new idea of that. You inject a certain chemical cells into in your body, and then those cells will reproduce, and the cell it will completely replace those set of old cells in your body and continue to renew your body. And even if you did that, who the heck wants to do that? What do you want to do? You want to work the rest of your life by just renewing your body? You want to work and just be miserable, continue to taking your drugs? People will commit suicide even if you create a situation where you can keep the material body going somehow. You will just commit suicide because it's too much. You just become a robot. You'll become a robot. Because not everyone's going to become rich and famous. Everyone's going to just be most people will just become a civilian who works a job 9 to 5. And can you imagine working a 9 to 5 job for 500 years? It ain't no joke. So even if you create a situation where you can make the material body last for a longer period of time, absolutely useless. You suffer more and more. My gosh. So the material science, although they're trying to solve, they're seeing different problems and trying to solve it, there's no ultimate goal in mind. So the Vedic literature, it even teaches one how to expand one's life duration. Like, you know, in Brahma's planet, if you go there, you can live for trillions of years, no problem. And you won't experience birth, death, old age, disease. You know, what Vishnu Chaitra Prabhu was describing, I think yesterday, how it's just like, or yesterday or the day before, how like there's no, Brahma maybe sneezed once, and that's maybe like, that might be a speculation. It's purely intelligence, where you can enjoy on the platform of intelligence, which is like the highest form of material enjoyment. You can even go there. So the Vedic literature gives one's the ability to satisfy one's desires that he has. But more than that, akama sarvakama brahmokshakama udardhi tivrena bhakti yogena. What is the last word? What is it? Yajeta purusham param. That, yes, you know, whether you have all desires, whether you have no desires, or whether you're, whether you have all desire, no desire, or desire, what's the other one? Akama sarvakama brahmokshakama. Or you desire liberation, that one should simply serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead with tivrena bhakti yogena, with one pointed attention. And with that one pointed attention, he should serve the Supreme Person, yajita purusham param. And this is the ultimate goal of life. And by doing this, whether you're full of desire, all the desires will become fulfilled. Whether you have no desire, then you get transcendental desire. And if you desire liberation, that will also be vanquished and transformed into love of Godhead. So all these things will become fulfilled by the accepting the process of Srimad Bhagavatam. So one should endeavor to accept that process and endeavor to make people understand how that these rascals, these rascal scientists, these rascal gurus, these rascal teachers, all of them they're all being cheated. They're all sheep that are walking, they're going to the slaughterhouse. We should try to convince and show them, not bash it on their heads per se, like a fanatic, like a Christian, but make them understand logically how that they're being cheated in this society. Simply cheated. Just like, you know, I'm sure when you're younger, like 20, the corporate world, like get the 6 figures, get all these things, right? And you had all those things too. And that was the formula for happiness, right? Right, when you're 20, that was like the given formula for happiness. You know, man, there's like the guy that comes on like the advertisement, and he goes like, you know, I was like working 2 jobs and barely making ends meet, but now I make 6 figures and I'm free and I have freedom and I'm so happy and I can do so many things, and you should do it too. And I'm gonna help you I'm gonna sign up to my course. I'm gonna help you know how to do this.
They're the most afraid of death.
Right?
They don't want to leave behind their
Yes,
treasure.
so attached. But like, did that bring you happiness? All those different things.
Rat's always a rat.
It's always a rat. It's just an imagined level of sense gratification. It's just imagined in the mind that when I get there, I'll be happy. That's the beauty of advertisement. It's all based on imagination. It's all the advertisement. This is all a big illusion. It's big farce. Everyone's cheating each other. You drink that Coca-Cola, just like now if you drive to Atlanta, I was driving to it yesterday. There's like all this family hugging and having a good time, and then the most prominent thing is that he's holding like 3 Coke bottles as they're hugging. With the idea that if you get that Coke is like the center of what creates the family atmosphere. So if you get this, then your family will be happy. And obviously, if somebody's intelligent, they'll go, obviously that Coke is not going to bring my family together. It's meant for stupid people that will fall into it. And guess what? Most people fall into it. So most people are stupid. They're like children. They're unintelligent. They don't know how to use their independence. So the point of the brahmanas and the teachers is to give guidance and not exploit those who are less intelligent. And unfortunately, kalo shudra sambhava, that most people in this age are shudras, of just the least intelligent people on this world. Just like Guru Maharaj was saying that, what is this, lawnmower? There's a lawnmower, and with the lawnmower, how it was advertised was a very beautiful girl. But if one is into like, what the hell does that lawnmower have to do with that very beautiful girl who's half naked with like really big breasts and very beautiful looking body, shaped body, she's really young. Why? Because the idea is that, if I get, just the association of opposite sex with the lawnmower creates a euphoric idea that by getting that lawnmower, I'll get that satisfaction of having that girl. It's easy to cheat the less intelligent, and that's what's being done. But so the point of the Brahmanas is to give knowledge, not to cheat these people anymore, but to provide them a way of life which is fulfilling, by which they'll be happy and not continue lamenting and hankering and lamenting in this world. That no matter what you get, it's not satisfying. Whether you get your 6 figures, whether you get your corporate job, whether you get your beautiful wife or husband or whatever these things. There's ultimately no satisfying things. But that's propagated by society in order to cheat. Because only the Shudras can be cheated. Well, Shudras, Vaishyas are there too. Shudras are easy to cheat. Because they're less intelligent, they don't have much. As soon as they see the object of their senses, that's it. Nothing else matters in the world. But a Brahmana, he is more equipoised. He sees things as they are. He's an introspective sage. He's able to see things deeper than the surface. So the Krishna consciousness movement is creating these Brahmanas. Prabhupada wanted that. He wanted all his disciples to be on that level of a Brahmana. That one should try to endeavor to come up to that level of a Brahmana, being very intelligent. And not everyone will, that's a given. But there should be a society of Brahmanas that guide these people that are being so much cheated in their life into a better form of life of Krishna consciousness, a life that is centered around self-realization. It is, the Bhagavatam says that one should not use one's senses and one's desire for sense satisfaction, but should be completely directed towards self-realization, understanding one's relationship with the Supreme Personality of God. So we are doing that with this book distribution. By giving this knowledge to others, by allowing them to read it, by allowing them to get association with the devotees, by allowing them to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada said if everyone hears the Srimad Bhagavatam, they will become Krishna conscious. So we have to endeavor to understand how we can make everyone hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, by which they will become disillusioned from this horrible state of existence. So therefore we are distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, science of self-realization, all these things to try to wake them up. Jeev Jago, Gaurachandra wrote it. Gaurachandra is saying that Jeev Jago, wake up sleeping soul. Wake up sleeping soul. And he's also saying that he's praying in one way, that there's so many fruits on the tree of love of God, but I'm only one gardener. How can I distribute all this love of God? And so we're assisting him in that Gaura Chandra Bole that he's wanting this conditioned souls who are sleeping in the lap of a witch called Maya. He doesn't need it, but we can assist him in sharing those love of Godhead, those fruits of love of Godhead. And that will satisfy Lord Chaitanya the most. That waking up these jivas from their conditioned state of life. And so we're lucky enough to be the instruments out on the streets of Lord Chaitanya, the instruments of Srila Prabhupada, spreading the message of Gaura, Gauravani Pracharis, preaching the message of Gaura. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschate Deshatari, destroying the impersonalism, the voidism that is present so prominently in this Western society. Paschate Deshatari, that this Western society, and even in the East too. But he's specifically come here for that reason. So we're assisting our spiritual master in this great attempt to conquer over this materialistic way of life and present an alternative way of life by which people can attain full satisfaction. So we should endeavor, push ourselves to the limit to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, and we've done so. And so at the end of, we've done it at this marathon, and we'll continue to do it in the next marathon and the next marathon. And at the end of life, we can bow down to Srila Prabhupada and say, I did it. That I served you without any motivation. So whether one attains perfection or not, it's not such a big deal for us, like the yogis. It is particularly a big deal if, just like we can go to our spiritual master and say, I followed 4 regs, I chanted 69, I distributed your books. And that's all that matters. So although we're doing that in this marathon, we can do it our whole life. Now great acharyas will be completely satisfied by that. And so we can continue to endeavor in this way and make our life perfect and please the spiritual master. So I'll end my class there. If there's any questions or comment, please feel free to ask. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it's really funny you mentioned this idea of like transcendence through by material means, like material moksha. Yeah, it's really funny because even the atheists, they desire moksha because the suffering is so much with the material world. Even then, they themselves, they want to transcend. Like that's how strong illusion is. They want to transcend their current material position by more material means. They're trying to leave their material position. But
the solution to the problem is the way you created a problem the same way and you want to solve it the same way.
Yeah, it's like I want to leave this material position. I mean, it's so crazy because if they just accept it, they want to live like the perfection of this material moksha is that they merge into this machine and live like infinitely in this like database. But if they just accept it, the Vedas as authority, they can live eternally. They can live eternally, but because illusion is so strong, they're willing to suffer so much. Yeah. It's really so they're like the desire. It's like the desire to enjoy is separate from Krishna is so like deeply rooted within them. Yeah. And you can even see that like on book distribution. Like you can like walk by you. They don't even have to know you're distributing books that is about Krishna, that you're brahmachari, what you do, and simply just by like looking at them, it's like they know that like you're like giving Krishna to them. Like they'll freak out. Like if you were just distributing lollipops, for instance, people wouldn't really care. Like but just by walking up to them, like some people you look at them and they're like, no, I'm okay. Or they just start like freaking out, looking all around. It's like they just know. Yeah. They're so afraid of surrendering to Krishna.
Yeah, they want the independence. Okay, Chandra, you have something?
Could you pull up the verse again today, the purport? I have a question. There's some statement in there I didn't understand, like completely. I mean, you have it there in your book, so I guess that's all that matters. But Prabhupada says that for a common man, this is in the.
All right, both modern science and Vedic wisdom are simply to be accepted.
Yeah, I couldn't really understand that point. The alternative for a common man is to believe either of them or both of them. Why would a common man believe Vedic literature?
Yeah, so just like like if you were just studying something, right? If you were just like let's say you study material knowledge and you like some of it, and then you study some of the Vedas and you like some of that. So then you can be like, okay, I like this part of material knowledge and I like this part of the Vedas, and I want to believe what I want to believe.
Oh.
Right? So they can believe both of them, either of them or both of them. So for them it doesn't matter because they're not. Prabhupada particularly says they're faith. For the acharyas, they're faithful and learned men, whereas the common man, he's foolish and he's not faithful at all. Right. So that's the difference between the common man and the devotee, is that for them it doesn't really matter whichever way that the sense gratification, whatever helps them in their sense gratification is that what they choose to believe.
Cherry picking.
Cherry picking, yeah. And so Prabhupada makes that particular point in the Bhagavad Gita, in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. He says that one cannot accept a little bit of the Bhagavad Gita and reject a little bit.
Yeah.
He has to accept the whole thing. There's no question of I like this and I don't like this. So it's for a common man, his demoniac consciousness, I want to enjoy. So if the Vedic literatures facilitate that, okay, I'll believe it. If it doesn't, then I'll switch in and out according to what is good for me.
The kirtan's nice, the prasadam's nice, but the philosophy.
Yeah, philosophies and stuff.
Yeah,
Like that. So
it's
you're
just the
believing,
philosophy.
the kirtan will
It's
help
good.
me like become stable in my mind and consciousness.
Yeah.
And the prasadam is like amazing, and it has
Oh yeah.
no
Giving
karma,
prema,
but
yeah.
it's karma free.
Karma.
But then when it comes to surrender to Krishna, then it's like, no, I don't like that.
Abortion's okay.
So I got 1 more minute. I can't pull up the quotes today because my phone's up there. You have a question?
Oh, I have a comment,
Okay.
reflection.
Sure.
I feel like this time of year is like Maya's especially strong. I see all these people at the store, they're running to get their gifts, and you're talking about this point of advertising. And it's crazy, like people, they can't even like pay their rent, they still feel obligated to get all the newest gadgets and stuff for their kids. It's almost like the child's right to have Christmas gifts, it's just so materialistic. And Christmas used to be at least like a little subtly more pious, like people would write nice notes to them. The original story of like Saint Nick giving gifts to the poor. But now it's just like, like all the Christmas songs, there's this, my favorite things, strudels and doodles and Pop-Tarts and it's like all my favorite gifts and all these like, all I want for Christmas is you. It's just all about how I can enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's like people just run into the stores. Also, my dad was reflecting that like, all the family gets together and they have to like buy like the biggest thing, the most expensive thing. And then it's like, and then someone gets something random they have no clue about. It's just like, oh, I don't care about this. It's just so dull.
It's like, I don't know. I have to look a little bit more into like the whole spirit of Christmas. But it says that I've understood that it's meant to be idea of giving, right?
Yeah.
So the Dati Pratiganati sort of principle that is giving gifts and accepting gifts. But it's could be like it can be done on a mundane platform, so there's no benefit. But the whole idea of Christmas is a Christ is included within that, right?
Yeah. I mean, the Christ is in it. They like merge like two different things together.
It's pagan.
It's like a pagan holiday, but then like Christ was born around this time, so like let's merge it together.
I just heard Christ wasn't even born around that time. Somebody told me that. But to the point you were saying, like you see in the stores that people are in anxiety. I'm like, man, I have some books. I can't talk to you right now. How do you get these gifts? It's like like you're supposed to be a spirit. You're supposed to be a spirit of happiness, like you said, in giving. But there's so much anxiety.
Especially for the Father's Day.
So it kind of degrades the whole purpose.
Prabhupada makes the point a little bit further back, like the name, fame, adoration, like the lust. This is what Christmas is. Let me see here. I give this class to everyone. The mind of the sage. So I should finish right now, but I just want to quickly say this here. Prabhupada, what text was that? Okay, here. No. Okay. I forget where okay, actually here. So every living being is serving the dictates of desire, anger, lust, and illusion, insanity, and enviness. So that's what Christmas is. You can sum it up in those desire, anger, lust, illusion, insanity, and enviousness. Desire to have so much. you're angered by the fact that you can't have so much. Your lust is like extremely high, you know, you're so lustful of all these material things you want. Your illusion, and then you have insanity buying all these things in the store, and then you're envious of everyone else that are doing better than you.
Yeah, this time of year brings out the worst qualities.
So you can see like really grossly all these things now. Okay, Shamad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Okay, Nick, you can, yeah, how do I finish?